Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran jazz drummer Matt Wilson. We caught up with him in early August 2020 to talk about his latest CD called Hug. Released during a pandemic, he opens up about this unique time on the planet and a host of other things related to how life has been going lately and the hope for the future. It's always great with Matt. Enjoy.
Yeah. The last one I played was March 8th. I was in New Orleans on the 7th as a guest with the Loyola Jazz Festival, and then the 8th I flew to Harrisburg. It was a Sunday, and the quartet did a show for the Central Pennsylvania Friends of Jazz. And what was funny was ironic was that back in the back room, in the dressing room, they had some food for us, like snacks, etc. And they had a thing of hand sanitizer. Because at that point, that's when we first started talking about this stuff. It was really hard to get. I was like, oh man, the cats are paying us in hand sanitizer, and we did Hug that day, and I went out and hugged people, and on the way home we're like, wow, I wonder if this is the last gig for a while, because the news was on while we were driving home. It was getting kind of whatever, and it was the last gig for a while. I mean, I played at Smalls a few weeks ago. And with Ken Poplowski, with Peter Washington and Glenn Zaleski, and then I played up at Ted Rosenthal's house a couple Saturdays ago with Martin Wind. We played trio for a Facebook Live show. But yeah, I played though. I taught a class last week up in Westchester. 2 weeks, 3 days a week for the last 2 weeks. I didn't do this week. But they had, but I was teaching, but they didn't have a drummer, so I played. It was fun to play with these really good they're high school kids, it was a college preparatory program kind of thing. So it was really fun to play with a really good guitarist and bassist and baritone saxophonist who was on the other side of the room. But we really had fun. It was really great. So it was fun to play,
Yeah, and that's the thing about all of this. You have an album coming out during a pandemic, Hug. It's a wonderful album. I love Space Force.
Thank you.
Oh my God! When I heard that, it's like I've heard so many levels of Capturing Now. What a great song! Just the whole Sun Ra dissonance, all of that coming together. So talk to me. This has to be a very pleasing album to come out on this very surreal time on the planet.
Yeah, it's irony actually in a lot of ways, or serendipitous, however you want to look at it. I mean, I'm going to order this, and I'll be right back. I got pulled on. Yeah. The record was intended to be, we were really getting on stuff prior to it. I remember having a meeting the week that I was in New Orleans. I was somewhere else, and I went down to New Orleans. I mean, it was pretty heavy in Europe because I made this live record that will come out sometime with for Jimmy Cass's label. He does these one-off project kind of things, and that's with Lederer and Mimi Jones, and we recorded it at the Cafe Bohemia. That was over Leap Day weekend. That's why it's called Leap Day Trio. It's Mimi and I and Jeff. It's really great. It's going to be really nice too. And Jimmy was supposed to go to Europe. I was actually supposed to be at that festival too originally. In northern Italy, the Bolzano Festival. And, of course, he wasn't sure if he was going, and then they ended up canceling because it was really bad. That was the area that was really the hot spot. And then Joe Lovano came to the gig, and he's like, man, I got this European tour. I'm not sure if it's going to be happening. I don't know if I want to go. I don't know, we're going to get over there and find out. So I think that, obviously that was canceled too. But it was all this stuff going on, and then we thought for a while maybe we would delay the record, and then between Anne Braithwaite, who, old dear old friend, and Missy at Palmetto, we decided I think it'll be a good time to have records come out because people are actually checking things out. They have more time, I think, a little bit. So I think it's a good idea, and we made the video. I don't know if you've seen the Hug video or not. You have to check that out.
Yeah.
And I went for it with the strings, but the reason to do this record is because I was playing a concert with the band about it was sometime a year ago spring, and we were at Temple University. Carol brought us down. Carol wasn't there that day, but Tim Warfield was there, the great tenor saxophonist and dear friend. And we rehearsed that afternoon some new music right before we did a master class. You know, we just ran down some things. Those guys I can bring like little things in and we just put a vibe on it, you know. And then we did this master class. We did this concert, and Tim came up to me and said, you know, this is not only one of the great jazz bands out there. This is just one of the great bands out there. And I realized, you know, sometimes I do all these other things, and sometimes it's just really good to document pretty often a band that plays together so well, you know. So that was one of the reasons initially, and it's always fun to, you know, I love one of my favorite things is picking the repertoire and doing all that stuff, and it was really fun to write for this record. It was really fun to pick, you know, some stuff we've been playing, some stuff we hadn't been playing, you know, stuff to do some production things like the strings on Hug or what we did with Space Force and all that. So yeah, it's really fun. Downbeat reviewed the record the other day, and I was most proud of this quote where they said, if there's anybody that can bring joy back to us, it's Good Hands with Matt Wilson or something like that. And it made me really happy to see that I have that reputation, because, you know, but this has been challenging. It's challenging all the way around, you know. I mean, wow, you know, just dealing with the issues of not playing, not traveling. You know, I've been teaching and everything like that, so, you know, I think income-wise and all that, it's a little bit different, but thank you. And so I think it's a little, you know, I don't have, there's a lot of other, everybody's going through the same thing. You know what's wild about it too is that when you know, that was one of the things that was one of the, I guess it's comforting, but it's also still really daunting that nobody is doing anything. You know, I mean, we're doing a little bit more now. Obviously, there's been some gigs and stuff like that, but you know, for the most part, everybody's in the same boat. You know, and I know the sports teams are trying to figure something out, but I don't know. They're just trying. You know, you got to try things to see what happens, I guess. So.
Yeah, well, I guess that's my next question. You know, when we do return, what do you hope both the audience and the musician realizes from this absence that we've had from live music?
You know, I think my dear friend Buster Williams was talking about something the other day. We were talking, and he goes, you know, nothing comes good. You know, nothing comes without a struggle. You know, I mean, you know, if it's easy, then it's really not. You're not really doing anything. If it's easier, really, you're not really creating. You know what I mean? Sometimes it flows like that. So there's something about this. I think that the challenges that we've had to embrace with this, I think people's ears will be. I think it will be less about. One thing I think that will be cool about it, I think it will be a little less about documentation. You know, I think people will actually will be there with their ears and their spirits wide open, because, you know, such a thing now is to have your phone out and film it or record it or whatever. And now I think people will really be in the moment with us. You know what I mean? Not that they're not before, but, you know, there's some of that. I think it'll be less distracted. I think it's almost like the days where, could you imagine being in the 17 or the 1800s, even the early 1900s, where you didn't hear a lot of sound just in general, and then when you went to a concert, their ears had to be so open and pure because they were welcoming it. You know what I mean? Like it was, and I think people will have a new, like a cleansed way. So, I mean, I've always been one that pushes this stuff anyway. So, but this is even more a reason not to. I mean, I'm trying to do as many projects as I can. You know, I'm going to go in and record duo with Kirk coming up. I'm going to go up and do another little. I'm going to do a Sunwatcher record with Lederer in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do some other dream projects if I can afford it. You know, like that I want to do that I just. You know what I mean? Like, but I think one of the most important things is to document. But also, I think locally, I'm going to. You know, I was telling my girlfriend the other day that, you know, maybe the thing is we find some places to play out here, and I get people out from the city, and we just create, you know, we create our own little world again. You know, like more local music scene. I think there's going to be more of an appreciation of local music. Of people supporting local music scenes. I think that will be one good. I think that will be something that will come out of this that will be really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt,
how do you feel about it?
I think you're right. I think it's community. I think the big thing is that we're realizing this is a global thing, and all of us are in this together. It's kind of, there was somebody the other day, actually very, very early on in this, I talked to Al Di Meola, and he had mentioned that this is like we're all fighting a disease together. We got diagnosed, we were going through it, and now we're going to go through the recovery, and then we're going to get back to that point where we return to whatever level of life that we return to. But I think that even on a local level, I've seen 2 concerts from my car. I went and saw Bobby Watson, Keeping It Real. He did. He brought Curtis Lundy in, and there's a drive-in that we have. It was wonderful, and we had the van. We popped the back up, all had masks, watched it, and it was magical. And then another local player, Jackie Myers, was playing a show, kind of the same gig. She was coming out of a garage in the middle of the city, and everybody had their cars, and we were all socially distanced, and it was wonderful. So it's all coming back, and we're going to have to limp back, I think to a certain degree, and we're going to get there, and slowly and surely. But if there's any musician, like I've realized this about jazz. Jazz is one of those things that happens once. You all are thrown into very unpredictable situations, and you have to make it beautiful. Yeah. And what is COVID-19? It's an unpredictable situation where you got to make the best out of it. And for the artists that exist in the world, this was made for jazz musicians.
Yeah, I believe so. I think the adaptability of what we do. I mean, I have to agree. I mean, I don't like to place anything on any priority order on any form of music or any sort of art form, but we are adaptable to a pretty incredible degree. Like, for example, I did an online interview one day with this organization in New York, and I did an online concert one afternoon for the New School with Anat Cohen, and we didn't play together because it was Zoom, but we did anyway, and it was fun. We didn't care. Like, it's judgment free. It's like, if we're not together, we're not together, whatever. But we are together because we're playing at the same time. Spiritually, we were there. But with the same thing with the Zoom, and it was an overlapping interview with. I was on the first half hour, and Steve Wilson was coming on for the second half. Steve's another really dear friend, so we played a tune together to overlap the interviews, and we played 4-in-1, which is a Thelonious Monk tune, which is hard to play. I mean, it's a challenging song to play when you're in person, nevertheless, with a Zoom delay or whatever. But I watched it come. I watched the broadcast of it, and it was happening because, like I said, the spirit was there. I mean, we were there, and he didn't care. That's what's great about great musicians. We're opening our souls. It's not about. I'm not worried about what anybody thinks, about it. I mean, that's fine. I think I think that aspect of it, as for myself as a performer and as a teaching artist, now is like, now what are we waiting for? Why people wait to do things, And so that's why I'm not holding back on trying to document stuff as much as possible. Go in the studio as much as I can, produce some concerts. I'm going to do some solo concerts out here on Long Island, stuff like that too. In public places, I got a grant, so I'm going to do like free park, or public space concerts where I play and talk about the drum set, about aspects of it and everything like that. So, trying to keep myself occupied somewhat. It's a challenge, but doing all right with it.
Yeah,
I've been writing a lot of stories. I might collaborate with Lloyd Sachs, who used to write for the Chicago Sun-Times. Is a good jazz writer about a book of things, about just tales of things, of the gigs, of people, of all this stuff. Because I have a good memory, so I want to get that down. Why I still have that, and I think that's important. Jeff Lederer's been doing that too. He's been writing like little essays about different parts of his life, and I think it's interesting. I think stories are what we're here for, and musicians have stories, and that's education to me. Is the stories. The information is whatever. You can get the information anywhere, but the stories is, that's really where you get the real substance of someone, So, yeah, it's been fun to talk about it,
Yeah,
think about
that's the key.
now. Yeah, right.
That's why Yeah, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it is about the stories. It's about getting the actual tapestry. But at any rate, man, hey, thanks for talking about
Sure.
COVID-19, the new album, what's been going on. This has been refreshing, and I'm glad that we got to catch back up again. So I appreciate
Sure.
it. Stay safe.
All right. Congratulations again. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in LA, New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Matt for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.